Live from a bunker in the middle of southwest Missouri, there are three people waiting to talk about movies. Will they survive? Will they be rescued? It's SiftPop Podcast.
I hope we're rescued.
All of a sudden, I felt like maybe this was our... What is it called in The Martian? It's not
Soul?
the limb. No, souls are days.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was like the limb or something. No, that's like Apollo 13. I can't remember.
What?
Anyways.
The name of the ship?
Yeah, like the place where he was like...
Hermes?
No, Ares is the name.
Ares.
Well, Ares was the name of the... This is a
Mars?
great way to start the podcast.
Maybe we didn't actually see the movie.
What?
Could be.
It's a Shyamalan
Aaron,
movie.
what are you talking about?
Welcome to SiftPop. We're going to talk The Martian and Heroes Reborn. As always, I'm Aaron. Danae is here as well. And joining us for our rotating geek this week is Andrew from Flick Freaks.
Ahoy!
Welcome back, man. It's great to have you in the room.
I have a blast every single time I'm here, so thank you.
Andrew said that you have a story for us right off the bat.
Yes, a little catch-up of what's been going on with me. So we went and saw The Martian last night, and I work the night shift at work, so as soon as I'm done with you guys at the movies, I have to go directly to work. And where I work is a stainless steel factory that's actually being shut down right now. And whenever a factory like this gets shut down, you have to be very careful of people breaking in to steal all the stuff that's being left behind.
Oh, yeah.
So when I get there...
Did you catch a burglar last night?
When I got there, right next to the plant, there's a wooded area, like a big forest and stuff. So as I'm pulling in, I look over to the wooded area, and there's a car parked in the woods trying to hide. And I'm
No
like,
way.
And I'm like, oh man, if I'm gonna get in there, and the cops are gonna. I'm going to have to call the cops to sweep the plant to make sure nobody's there. I walk up to the door. The alarm's not set. The doors are unlocked. I'm like, great. So I do call the police to come check out the area, and I say, hey, there's a car parked in the woods. I'm supposed to be the only one here to make sure everything's being okay. So the cops come to check out on this car, and they're looking in the car, and I'm in the building. But I'm doing that thing that every single person does, is where they'll look out the window, they'll peek just to watch to see what the cops do.
Right? Of course.
And yeah, we all want to watch what the cops are doing. So I'm watching the cops, and he's looking in the car, and then all of a sudden he jerks and he shines his light into the woods. And he's like, oh man, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Well, is it going to be like a meth addict, or is there a drug deal going on? Did I just catch the Springfield cartels in the act of selling heroin?
Yes.
All of a sudden, and I swear to God, this is a true story, Gandalf the Grey comes walking out of the woods, staff in hand,
Are
long
you joking
beard.
right now?
Swear, this really happened. I called the cops on some 17-year-old cosplayers who were playing in the woods Lord of the Rings.
Bravo!
I felt so bad because I could see myself doing that.
Oh, my
And I
goodness.
just
man.
terrified these poor children.
Don't feel bad, because the experience points that they gained after that cosplay, live action role play moment, they probably all leveled up after.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. After the cop encounter, they probably split up mass XP, and they're now moving up in their levels. So don't feel bad.
How does Gandalf the Grey react to being pulled out of the woods by the cops?
He throws off his gray robe and becomes Gandalf the White.
You shall not arrest me.
That's right. He puts his staff down.
Oh, that's amazing, man.
What a great story.
That is a great way to start the podcast. Thanks for joining us. We love having you along. We're excited to talk the Martian movie, as well as the TV show Heroes Reborn over the course of this hour. You can tune in, obviously, live on Mixlr when we do this every Friday at noon Central. That's mixlr.com. You can also download the Mixlr app, so it's right there on your mobile device, and listen to us live and chat with us. We have several people. I see Brenton, I see Bonnie, I see Humberto.
And Victor.
And I see Victor.
I'm so excited that Victor's here today.
I see Jennifer, I see Caleb.
Can't
Lots
even
of you
handle it.
hanging out live in the chat. Thank you so much for doing that. Also, you can join us today live on Periscope if you want to kind of see what's going on.
The connection's not that fantastic.
Yeah.
I was
Just
about
let
to
you know.
ask what the audio is like, because obviously our audio equipment's not set up for the Periscope. So
Correct. It's just kind of a live look in, and
You can peek in on the world of.
yeah, and you actually won't even hear all of the audio because it's, run through the board and the board isn't run through the phone, that kind of thing. So, but if you wanted to tune in that way, you certainly could.
See our pretty faces.
And of course, the podcast
And,
feed.
of course, the podcast. Subscribe to SiftPop, SiftPop in iTunes or Stitcher.
We have gathered here today to talk about The Martian. We're going to play a little clip for you from the movie to get us kicked off here. This is when you would actually be staring at Mars, right? Okay.
That at some point, everything's going to go south on you.
Ready?
And you're going to say, this is it. This is how I end.
Commander, Mark is dead. We have to go now.
Now, you can either accept that, or you can get to work. This will come as quite a shock to my crewmates, and to NASA, and to the entire world. But I'm still alive. Surprise.
So that's Matt Damon as the man who is stranded on Mars. And then what happens after that? The movie uses a lot of ingenuity, science, those kind of things to help this man survive on his own and stranded on a planet far, far away.
So we're going to start off with our basic overall takeaways from the movie The Martian. And then after this podcast finishes, we'll actually do a little deeper conversation with some spoilers. And you can find that in the SiftPop podcast feed. So what did you think, Aaron?
Overall, I am in the loved it category. I thought this was an amazing film. I had a great time. The performances are great. I think, we'll get into more details in a little bit. Andrew, what about you?
Movie of the year.
Wow. We added a category.
So far.
Wow.
Because there are a few movies I can think of that could possibly trump this one. But so far, right now, movie of the year.
Mm-hmm. Mine's still Inside Out, just saying. Go ahead, Danae.
I loved it. I didn't know that I would like it. I mean, it's another survival movie. We went from Everest to Mars.
That's right.
So it's like, oh, here we go again. Another, survival thing. I didn't know if I would enjoy it. But I really, really had a good time in this movie.
There's something about survival movies. There's something about just the perseverance, watching somebody persevere, problem solve, figure their way out of something that is really engaging and interesting, don't you think?
Yeah, but for me, I think it was more than that. Like, it wasn't just survival. Because the survival story kind of spoke to me. I guess the takeaway for this one would be definitely perseverance, unity, perseverance. Those are kind of like the big sort of takeaways from the movie when you're walking out. At least for me, it was
an interesting type of unity, and maybe we can get into that more with spoilers, but it's not like a unanimous type of unity. It's a we're all working together even though we have different opinions, type of unity, and may want to do different things.
But I loved that it was smart and it kept the story moving and it didn't get boring, and I was laughing throughout it. There were several times when I really found it to be super humorous, which was a relief because I didn't know if it was going to be just, some dude on a hot planet just crying his face off all the time.
And I'm interested, Andrew, to hear what you thought about the humor as well, because that's what I was going to get into when I started going to details. For me, that is the crux of why this movie works, because the humor is, you spend so much time with this man, you got to like him.
Right?
Right? You have to like him.
That's the hope.
And so if he had been annoying to be with, it would have been a whole different movie, but you loved this man because he was so funny and even in a situation kept his sense of humor.
And so handsome. Matt Damon's just so handsome.
Yes. Very handsome man. He, even if he's completely emaciated, he's still got that handsome face. So what did you guys think, other things that you loved in the movie?
There are no helicopters on Mars.
Oh, spoiler. Spoiler. That's for the spoiler podcast. We can't talk about that right now.
Going back to what you're saying about the humor, I told you guys earlier, I have read the book before, and that is the main takeaway from the book as well, is the fact that this character, in the face of insurmountable odds, still finds it within himself to have that rock star mentality of, it doesn't matter what situation, how dire it can be, I know I'm smart enough to get out of whatever this planet can throw at me.
I was interested to talk to you, Andrew, and Ida joined us for the movie last night as well. Both of you have actually read the book. And so Ida took time to chat with me. I called her. We talked after during my drive home. And she said that they followed the book really well. And she would consider it one of her best adapted book to film movies that she's ever seen.
Oh, wow. That's a great conversation. I would love to get into that conversation. And since we're there, let's go ahead. You're the only one in the room who's read the book. Would you agree with that assessment?
So do you remember yesterday when we were periscoping how I said I can see them cutting out certain parts of the movie just for time? They did not cut out a sentence of that book.
Well, that's not possible.
No, I'm serious. Like every single thing.
That's not possible.
Every joke, everything. I remember, wait, they didn't cut that out? I figured they would have cut that out for time. I figured they would have cut out
this. Was the book 20 pages long? Like, you just can't, can't include everything.
It's an 8-hour audiobook. So you can cut down an 8-hour audiobook to make a 2-hour movie because of descriptors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Every single thing in that book was in the movie. And
she said the only thing that she realized that they really kind of left out is that they condensed a part of the timeline. There's a moment in time whenever you've got Matt, he's kind of surviving on the planet, and of course he's going to come across some trouble. You can completely expect that. And at one of those trouble is here moments, they had combined a couple of things together into like one, bad thing went down. And let's just be honest, thankfully they did combine it because it's a 2.5 hour long movie.
You didn't feel it.
I felt it one time majorly, just once.
I didn't.
I was like, man, I just hit some sort of wall. And then I'm like, well, it is like 9:30 at night and I've still got an hour to go.
I felt the length a little bit. There were a couple moments, but
not in a bad way.
But not in a bad way. Yeah. I was aware of it. I was aware that it was going longer. In some movies that are 2.5 hours, I don't feel that. Some movies I blink and it's over, and this wasn't that way. I was aware of the time, but it may have just been the purposeful pacing of the way they were telling the story,
right? Which
I think was important, and I think they did that well.
We have a lot of comments coming up in our chat. Anything that you want to bring attention to?
No.
Really? I can't read it. It's bothering me because today I'm in charge of Periscope.
Do I need to read you all the comments?
I want to know.
The BDG said that it's a movie. Yeah, I agree with you. You don't feel your bladder during the entire movie.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
2.5 hours, you don't.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
I was glad. I wonder if we're on the cool selfie stick tripod thing, says people from Periscope. Yes, you actually are.
You are on the cool selfie stick tripod thing. So here's an interesting point when you guys talk about the, for me, the book to movie thing. Mm-hmm. I thought I felt some book to movie problems. What's interesting is you're saying there were none, but I felt like there were times where I was like, whoa, that was a big jump in time. What happened during all that? Like, there were these moments I felt like, oh, they must have condensed there, and I wish I knew more about that.
You mean like the biggest time jump that we see kind of towards the,
Yeah. I don't. There were a couple times actually where I felt that way, and I was like, "Oh, well, it was a book."
It's pure repetition.
There's
going through the same act every single day. You don't want to. You can condense repetition just over a timeline.
Sure. I didn't mind that big time advance because we're dealing with like space rescue and months and calculations about how if something comes from Earth and gets to Mars, how long does it take and all this stuff. So there's like a lot of calculations going on. So I didn't mind the condensing of time in some ways, but I did in others. And one of the things that bothered me was actually the ending. The ending still hasn't quite sat with me. And I'm not going to talk about the ending. I
can't wait to talk about that on the spoilers.
But we'll wait, yeah.
I cannot wait to talk about that. By the way, if you want to be able to check out the spoilers, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. They'll be in that feed. And that, again, is SiftPop at iTunes or Stitcher. So any other negatives that you guys, kind of thought in the movie? I mean, you say movie of the year, so you probably didn't have much that you didn't like about it.
Trying to think. I do remember there being some negatives. One of them is they kind of... What I loved about the book so much, and I am able to say this is a movie and this is a book, and I'm able to differentiate the two and see them both as their own item. But the one thing I really wish they had put in the movie is he goes into Andy Weir, the writer of this, of the book. He goes into so much detail about math and science and how that is what keeps Mark Watney going. And they didn't really do it as much as I would have liked.
I think you can feel it, though. And that's one of my favorite things about the movie.
It's really intellectual.
Is it's really smart. Yeah. And you can feel that there's science underneath it, even if they don't explain it all. You can really feel that they did their homework on a lot of this stuff.
I walked away and I periscoped on the way home. I've decided to start doing that so I can talk about my thoughts with people.
I know somebody else who does that.
Yeah. And one of the really cool things I landed on was I felt like this movie could be real. Like Everest was real. And I feel like this could be real.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
They truly thought things through on such a deep level, and we're watching them. So they did dumb it down from what I'm understanding as far as like when you're reading it, you're reading calculations, you're reading all that stuff. So,
well, that was my exact thought coming out was I feel like this could have been based on a true story, even though we know for sure it wasn't. We haven't been to Mars, but it felt like a based on a true story movie.
I actually was talking to somebody before I got here, and they asked me, is it based on a true story?
No, they didn't.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow.
You do realize humans don't know how to go to Mars yet. There are like...
We're working on it.
Well, there's so many issues that humans face right now with how to get to Mars. We don't know how to do it yet.
Yeah.
And
well, this
what are some of those
tells
issues,
us that it's
Andrew?
possible.
The main issue...
Let's solve them right now.
Okay.
The three of us.
Now.
There are 2 or 3 main issues
right,
why humans can't go to Mars.
Okay.
The main issue right now is radiation poisoning.
Okay.
Because that is what
That's serious.
the solar system is full of. Empty space is just pure radiation. The sun is throwing it off. And the 140 million mile journey from Earth to Mars, you would die. The only way to combat that is to have your own atmosphere. And you have to build a ship that can rotate and create its own atmosphere. And we don't know how to do that yet. The other main issue, of course, is gravity. When you're in space for that long, I think they said 4 years is what it takes to get from Earth to Mars. 4 years in a zero gravity environment, your muscles would deteriorate to nothing. So by the time you got there, you'd be a slug.
You'd be like a soup.
Yeah.
Like a human soup.
So why don't we deal with the radiation thing like on other space trips that we've taken, like to the moon and stuff?
Because you're not there as long as what you would be.
So there is radiation, it's just that it's low level, and so it's only over time that low level radiation would impact us?
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
So hazmat suit, solve that. And what was the other one? Gravity?
Gravity, yeah.
Heavy shoes. All right, we're good.
Heavy shoes. Aaron's done it, ladies and gentlemen.
NASA,
Wow.
I'm right here.
Let's go to Mars.
Wow.
I'm right here. I'm just saying.
If I'm thinking of anything else that I would want to mention before we move on from our just quick thoughts on The Martian, I am not smart enough to survive in most environments.
That's what Everest and The Martian back-to-back have taught you.
Especially space. Like this was I already knew from Interstellar. I already knew from Gravity. I know already that I'm not cut out for space.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit last night with my friends on the Periscope, but oh my goodness. I would be a terrible addition to any space mission.
But would you do it?
No.
Really?
No, I really
I'd do it in a heartbeat.
I would do it in a heartbeat.
You cannot pass that
100%.
up.
I would absolutely pass it up.
You can't. Oh.
100% I would die.
Yeah.
But that's the way to go.
Right?
That is not the way to go. Are you kidding me?
How many people can say, oh yeah, that's my grandfather. He died in space.
No.
Yeah.
The man makes a good point.
No, the question was, would you rather like bungee jump or, what would you do? If
Go
you
to
had
space.
to go to Everest or space, which one would you do? That kind of
Space.
thing. I would never go to space. I can't.
You'd climb Everest first?
No.
Okay.
I would just be like, oh, look over there. I'd sneak out the back door.
Anybody can die on Everest. That's not that special.
Hundreds of people
You
have.
realize this isn't talking about conquest. This is talking about how we're choosing to die because we would not make
Still
it.
space.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Everest
do it.
would be a long, drawn-out death. Space, I think, would be immediate.
Did you? Yeah. You'd either explode on the way up.
Yeah.
Especially if you lost your heavy shoes and your hazmat suit. I mean, you'd be all over.
That just seems like a terrifying. No, I don't. No. I have no desire to go out onto a ship. I have no desire to go up in space.
So let me ask you
The
this.
final frontier.
Let me ask you this. Did you identify with this man? Like, did the movie do a good job of putting you in his place? Like, where you're thinking, would I be able to do it if I had his knowledge or his know-how?
Every single turn, I was reminded the knowledge I do not possess. And I'm like, I would, if, let's just, in real life, apocalypse happens, something happens, I've got to go survive with people. Danae on her own doesn't make it. Danae with friends who know how to grow crops, things like this. Like Ida. Guys, just come find me and Ida. We will figure out how to survive together. In space? Yeah. Like, no, it's just not going to happen. So I was able to identify that, yes, he has to do basic function of survival to make it on Mars. And I was really intrigued by that. And I loved watching it. But at every single turn, I was just like, man.
So if you had that thought,
I'm in bad shape.
You immediately flushed it. It was like, I can't do that. I couldn't be there. I related
to his sense of humor. I think maybe there's a point whenever he he's got to do some self-doctoring, if he gets hurt, he's got to take care of himself. He's all by himself. I think maybe I could do that. But how I related to him is that he is a human. I am also a human. So yeah, basic DNA, right? Like basic.
But that's purposeful. Like the humanity, they purposefully have mistakes that he makes in the movie as well, where we get to see his humanity, and he'll even say, well,
that was stupid.
I'm a moron.
Yeah.
And boy, that just puts you right on that level where you're like, we're still human. We're still trying to figure stuff out,
But the mistakes he makes and why he explains why, I'm like, I never would have figured it out.
No.
I never would have figured it out.
I would have never made it, period.
Whenever you say, is he relatable, I think you can say he's relatable in the fact he has human qualities. He's not a robot that's figuring out these problems. He's still he hates disco music. He is every single astronaut, they all have that rock star mentality like I was talking about. Like they think that they're above and beyond the best people in the world. And there's a reason why, is because 99% of the time they are. Not only just their persona, but also the knowledge they possess.
That is,
you have to be smart to go to space.
Speaking of that, Brenton mentioned Elon Musk in the comments, like that he would be the one that would figure those things. By the way, I already figured them out. Elon doesn't need to. But if, for some reason my heavy boots don't work, Elon Musk, is one of those guys who you just go, oh.
Are you talking about like the Zelda boots?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Zelda boots.
In the Zora tunic, you get those two things, and you're good to go. All you got to do.
So Nintendo solved the problem.
Is play Wind Waker, and you'll be all set.
But
like you think of like the Tesla automobiles that he makes and those kind of things. So
I want one.
Yeah,
everyone wants a Tesla, but not everybody wants to go to space.
So let's talk performances. Matt Damon,
A+.
Yeah,
Oscar contender.
I think possibly, yeah.
I loved his performance. I loved all the performances. I thought it was really, really good.
Any stand out to you guys beyond his, obviously?
You were asking me. Now I remember what one of my critiques was. I did not like one of the performances by somebody.
Please lay it on us.
Donald Glover's. Did not like his character. It was
Which one was Donald Glover?
He was the kid who found out how to bring... with the idea of how to bring him home.
He was the one that was sleeping on the cot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think in the like I said earlier, I can differentiate between a book and a movie as long as the choice you make serves a purpose and it's better or just as good as the decision that was made in the book. And I don't like how they made him out to be this weird, crazy, out of their character.
Okay, interesting. I took it as that kind of person that is so into the problem solving and the mathematics and the numbers crunching and all that he didn't care about the real world. Like he was socially inept in that way.
What's the actor's name that played the director of NASA?
There was director of NASA.
Director of the mission or director of NASA? Jeff Daniels was the director of NASA.
The main guy.
He had his pen taken out of his
head.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff Daniels.
I really liked his
performance.
Great.
I love Jeff Daniels.
And I can't remember the last thing. I think the last thing I saw him in. That's it.
Isn't that amazing? Guy. He's a great actor.
He's that one guy from that one thing.
Well, I always loved Jeff Daniels.
With the terrible haircut.
Yes.
He's Newsroom.
He had to go potty and it was really bad.
That's what I was going to say. I always loved Jeff Daniels, and then when he did Newsroom, it went to another level for me.
Victor
he is incredible on Newsroom.
One of the smartest shows of all time. Yeah.
Sorkin, man.
But Aaron Sorkin.
I thought his performance was really, really good.
I did too.
I like Sean Bean's performance a lot, as well as Chiwetel Ejiofor's.
I can't say what I was just going to say because it's a spoiler.
I know what you're going to say.
I got to write it down. Otherwise I'll forget it.
I think you and I have the same spoiler.
Write it down. I was not impressed with Sean Bean's performance.
Really?
Yeah, there was something. I think I've just seen him do the same thing in most. Oh, you got to share around the table.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
I cannot wait to hit this one in the spoilers.
Oh,
we're showing
quick.
it.
Okay.
That's a tease.
So, anyways, what was I even saying? Because that's really funny.
You were saying that you were not a fan of Sean Bean's performance.
When I see him in movies, he seems to be the same in each of his characters, and I just haven't seen him branch out yet. And in this one, I just felt like, again, it was just kind of that same kind of downplayed, under the surface.
Well, he's a character actor. He has that one character that he has perfected, and that's what he's cast as.
Yeah.
Do you think that somebody would give him a shot of being just a
something else?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just think he does that character
I'm
amazing.
abandoning. I just can't not be in the chat. It is making me crazy.
I
I'm always
noticed.
in the chat. I love talking to everybody, and I have bad enough vision that I can't see it from here. So I'm out. I'm out of Periscope. Guys, I love you up there. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you so much. Going in the chat.
So yeah, any other pros or cons that you thought about during the movie?
There's just so many pros that you can't really talk. It's doesn't seem it, but it's a spoiler heavy movie.
It really is.
You can't talk about this movie without going into too many spoilers, without being extremely generic. So, great performances, great story, great heart, and yeah, I'm trying to think of things I can say, but every single thing I think of is spoiler.
Yeah.
So,
I think my one last thing. Let's go ahead and go around and do one last thing. We'll do one last thing about the movie. My one last thing is I thought they were very creative about stretching the PG-13 rating to include more profanity. Like, they were very creative.
That was PG-13?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. There really wasn't a lot of...
The first word of the movie is an F-bomb.
Well, and it is the only PG-13 movie where I've seen in a long time, maybe ever, that it was allowed 2 F-bombs.
Yeah.
There are 2 F-bombs in the movie. And by the way, this is all, whatever, the MPAA is that,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole system is kind of a joke, but it's really interesting to watch kind of how they do things. And then they got really creative about insinuating swearing through the rest of the movie. Like, there were moments where it was muted, but you could tell exactly what they were saying.
I'd just like to add, I completely understand dropping the F-bomb if you're left on Mars. Totally acceptable.
The MPAA does not, though.
I mean, that is a very, very serious situation. And sometimes there are...
Danae's like, I've got my list. That's on the list. I'm allowed.
There are times to be very specific with your cursing. That is one.
Ida is very correct. Sometimes there are just no other words.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally in this movie. So that was my one last thing, is I thought they were creative with that. And there also is nudity in this, which there isn't usually in a PG-13, but again, it's story specific.
Yeah.
And it's definitely there for a very
nudity from you see the backside.
Yeah, not full frontal or anything, but it's important to the story and kind of showing what's going on, and can't necessarily talk about it until we get to the spoiler. But I would just, it was interesting to me the way they creatively worked their way around that.
Last thing for me, I love how the movie is able to give us something that happens to him that for the rest of us would seem like an insurmountable task. But for some reason, in the back of your head, he is smart enough to do it. And you get really excited whenever something happens. You're like, I want to know how he's going to get out of this. And it really, every single time something happens, it draws you back in and it makes you that more excited. You're like, this guy is amazing. I love that.
Danae, what's your one last thing?
My one last thing is just a reminder, this is not a true story.
Yes, I had to tell people that. That's so sad.
But you know what? It feels so much like Apollo 13.
Really did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I haven't seen Apollo 13. I'm sorry.
You know what's funny?
I'm sorry.
What's funny about this is a running gag on the podcast. Danae
shouldn't be.
She hasn't seen movies. What's funny is there's going to be a fulcrum point in your life where you didn't see any movies before a certain point, and then you saw every movie that came out.
It's already terrible.
And no, this fulcrum point in your life, you'll be look back and people will be like, "Man, you are really well versed in modern cinema," and you'll just be like,
"And there's only going to be
Aaron's fault."
And all of the fans, all of my friends, all of my family will know it was only because of doing this show. I only go see movies to talk about them with you guys.
I've said it once. I've said it more than once. I will say it again. I will say it every time. That's what makes you so valuable to the conversation. One of the things.
Until someday I've seen too many. I'm not valuable.
And then you're fired.
And then I'll be replaced.
Then I got to find somebody else who doesn't watch movies.
There's another girl out there that just doesn't like movies, blah, blah, blah.
I said one of many things that makes you amazing on the show. So yes, Apollo 13 feels like something that really could have happened the way they problem solved. And,
that is a true story.
That's right. And this movie just feels a lot like that. So
Jim Lovell, one of my heroes.
Overall, we all loved it. I think we're all in the A range probably if we were to give it a grade.
C+. Movie of the year.
Movie of the year.
C+.
C+.
After this movie, I walked out to my car and it was late. I was tired. I could not figure out how to work my heater. I have had this car for many years now.
And you knew what Watney felt like on Mars. Oh, it's so cold.
I said, yep, just another reminder. I would never make it.
But you didn't have any plutonium with you?
Before we get into
Heroes Reborn,
have you noticed that trend in Hollywood lately of, when you look back at like Star Wars, Star Trek, all these space films, they make it look so effortless. But lately, every single movie that's dealt with space has just been a reminder of how incredibly dangerous it is for humans.
Yeah.
Like when you look at Interstellar, Gravity, and now this, it just looks like it's not meant for humans. And that
is why I would never go. And I think you guys are crazy.
But here's the thing. The ocean was that way.
I'd rather go to space than the ocean.
Well, yes, but what I'm saying is there used to be a time when all of humanity looked at the ocean and said, that place will kill us all. Like, we can't go there. And now that's kind of ho-hum. Then it was air travel was that way. Getting something flying in the air was certain death. And now it's ho-hum. I just wonder, will there be a day... I just don't want
anyone to judge me...
when space will be ho-hum.
...for being the person that just likes to be on Earth.
Your space is my ocean. I'm scared to death of the ocean. I really am.
I think it's also Danae's ocean.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I like to be on Earth. There's something about having some solidness underneath you.
Missouri, landlocked.
Let's not talk about Stephen King's worm movie.
I wonder.
Sandworm. What was that movie?
Tremors.
Duh.
Tremors wasn't. Langoliers was Stephen King.
Yeah, I don't think Tremors was a Stephen King movie. I don't think so.
What?
No.
It was a Kevin Bacon movie.
That was Kevin Bacon, yeah.
Why did I just think of that? No, there's a wormies under my legs.
I wonder if that is because you guys are from landlocked. Like, because I grew up in Michigan with water, like, all around. I'm not scared of water at all.
I have a reason why I'm scared of the ocean, but it's too long of a story to go into.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. But I do like what you said about how the ocean was this insurmountable thing, and now, like you said, it's ho-hum. But yeah, think about it. Human beings went from not knowing how to fly to putting a man on the moon in 66 years.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? 1903, Wright brothers. 1969, the first moon landing. 66 years we did that.
We were stuck to the ground, and then 66 years later, we're walking on the moon.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I just want to work on levitation.
Yeah.
Although my son informed me that the moon landing was a hoax. So he's been watching too much YouTube.
He really has.
I took away his tablet.
Yes, good for you.
Every bit of information that child gives you is something he saw on YouTube.
Speaking of levitation, Heroes Reborn.
Yeah, we'll get into that first. I want to talk a little bit about how you can kind of keep things going here.
Yes.
With our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Aaron and Danae.
Yep, you can also find a quick link at our website. That's aaronanddanae.com. Click on Patreon. This is how the show happens. We're completely fan-supported and fan-funded. And thank you so much to our fans for making it possible. Today we're going to be thanking Ida. Ida, thank you so much for your support of this podcast, making it something that goes every single week. Right now we're 2 days a week. Our next goal is 3 days a week, and we are inching closer and closer to that goal with your help. So whether you can give $1 a month, $10 a month, $30 a month, whatever it is, there are perks for every giving level, and you can see more about that at the website. Again, there's a quick link at aaronanddanae.com. Click on Patreon, and you can read about that there.
If you and everyone else listening live right now decided to give $1 or another $1 a month, we would be very, very close to that goal. And if everybody listening on podcast did, we would be beyond. So, that's how simple it is. $1 every single month, and we ask you to help keep it going if you love it.
And just a reminder, the next podcast that we are going to be launching will be on Wednesdays at noon, and it will be the new Music Digest. So we'll be listening to music with you every single week once we hit that goal.
There you go. All right, into Heroes Reborn. I was going to play a clip, but I couldn't find any that weren't absolutely ridiculous. So let's just go into
I watched
the show.
this today.
Yeah, you did. So let's start with your initial thoughts. What, were you going to tease her about not having seen it?
No, because remember last night we said that if she didn't watch it, you and I were going to rank something.
Oh, that's right.
So, I had an incentive to watch it so that you guys didn't geek off about your ranking of your lists and such.
So tell us, Danae, what are your initial thoughts? You're just fresh from it.
I am fresh from it. I watched it just a couple of hours ago, and I was not impressed with it in some ways, and then in other ways, I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is a really well-made show. There's some shows that I watch that are kind of cheaply made. They don't have fun sets. The camera work is a little bad. The costuming is a little weird. The acting is a little off. And in this one, I'm noticing that they have a really obviously a good budget. You're taken to a lot of different places. You're, zipped around to these different scenes. You've got all these different characters coming together. And in that way, I think it has a lot of potential. But my very first initial reaction was kind of like, what is going on? And there's a level of confusion. I love puzzles. So I'm curious if they're going to keep my puzzle brain involved somehow. But the very first episode is pretty much just like June 13th, something. And then it's like 7 weeks before that. 2 weeks after that, 4 weeks before that, 3 weeks.
3 days and 3 hours after that.
Where are we in time? Like, give me some sort of a visual to understand where we are if this is important information. Otherwise, I just, why even put it up there?
Well, also at a time when you don't know anybody either.
I don't know
you're confused about time reference. You're also confused about character references. You're confused about a lot of that stuff. Just to kind of clear up any confusion there might be, this is not a remake of the Heroes series. It is a relaunch of the same universe down the road. There are some characters that are the same. There are many characters that are different, including Zachary Levi, who you may remember as Chuck, is one of the main characters.
It's like they're going back into this world. They're revisiting this world. So just a little bit of time has passed since Heroes ended. And
of course, we're dealing with a lot of the same themes as the original about being different and being outcast because you're different and what happens in a world where that happens. And of course, there's bigger sci-fi things going on as well that we don't know a lot about yet because we are 2 episodes in, or 1 long episode, depending on how you watched it.
Yeah. The BDG asked, do you need to watch Heroes before you watch Heroes Reborn? My answer would be yes.
I think absolutely yes.
Because I was not a fan of the original Heroes show. I only watched 3 episodes and then I quit. And then whenever you said, hey, we should watch this, I watched it. I knew Noah Bennett, Jack Coleman, the main guy. He plays Hayden Panettiere's father in the original show, right?
Yeah, the cheerleader's dad.
Okay, Claire, I think is her name. And
works at Primatech, the paper company / Evo researchers.
Yes, and he is the main protagonist in this show, so I knew him going into this. But everybody else, I didn't know who was in the original show and who was new, and I don't think that you can jump into this show without having a firm grasp of what happened in the last show.
Now, I didn't actually finish the series, though. And so I'm wondering if I need to go back and kind of see where we left off. I don't know what happened to Skylar. I don't know what happened. Where I stopped watching was basically when the universe shifts and all of a sudden, what's his name, has like a samurai sword on his back. Hero. Yeah. Yatta! Yeah. And I didn't see anything after that. So
was that second season? Did you watch a full first season?
I think I watched the first full season, but it got to some point, and I went in a little bit in after that, where we're confused about whether they're still aligned with good or neutral or evil. There's like some confusion about their intention at some point in time.
In the original series, we're still talking about.
Yeah. And so I stopped watching it because I lost interest. I'm wondering if I either need to go read up on it on the internet or if I need to go back and watch it.
If you want to stay with it, it might be good background material. But I think if you saw the entire first season, I think you're good. Because I really think what this show relies on is knowing the universe in a decent way and not necessarily knowing all the ins and outs. Like you mentioned, I don't know what happened to Skylar. I don't think that matters. I really don't think that matters in this series. So I think there are things that you would be better knowing, but I think most of it is atmospheric and and not necessarily storyline. I think they're trying to let new fans in.
I think it could attract new fans. For someone who hasn't seen Heroes, they are trying to introduce the concept of people who have been evolving and things like that. So you might be able to go in clean because it's a fresh new storyline. But you're going to be confused about just certain basics about the world, I think.
Let me ask this question while I'm thinking about it, and then we'll talk more about the things we liked and the things we didn't. In a new superhero world, okay, think of when Heroes came out originally. What was on TV that was superhero related? Nothing.
I don't remember there being much.
Nothing.
Was there Superman or anything like that? Like on the CW
I think
or
Smallville
something?
may have been finishing up when Heroes started.
I thought Heroes was before Smallville.
Because I remember when it came out.
I was thinking like Lois and Clark may have been finishing up when Heroes started. It seems like
Heroes came out in 2006. So it was 2006 to 2010.
When it came out, I remember thinking like, oh, this is interesting. They're accessing that part of humanity where we want to be special.
Yeah.
We want to have a special power. We want to be able to fly. We want to have those things. And I think that's one of the things that I personally find attractive about most, either sci-fi or fantasy storylines where a human is suddenly empowered,
right,
with this special ability. And I remember growing up wanting to have, to be special and to have something special. And then, just sideline, we are all special. Let's just be honest. We all have
Rainbow Star. The more you know.
Yes. The more you know.
So my question then becomes, now that we're in a world where we're inundated with superheroes, does the show feel a little like it's been left behind?
Yes.
I think so too.
I just prefer, after watching this, I prefer all the other superhero television shows that are currently on, like The Flash or Arrow, and I'm actually even more excited about Supergirl than Heroes Reborn. So.
I am more excited about Heroes Reborn than those shows. Well, okay, there are aspects of Heroes Reborn I'm more excited about than those shows, mainly being the number of superheroes interacting with each other. Yeah, the versatility you have. But the truth is, the X-Men universe has us satiated with that now. Like, we get X-Men movies every couple years. We get, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Marvel stuff even has X-Men type characters in them now. So it's not something we necessarily need.
Perfect quote in chat from Spartan Knight. When everybody's special, no one is special.
That's right.
That's from Syndrome.
So what are some specifics that you did or didn't like about Heroes Reborn? By the way, I haven't given my generals. I should do that. I, in general, like it, but I think it's because I have a soft spot in my heart for this universe.
Yeah.
It's not about how well the show is done. I can tell you that. I have a lot of problems with both the original series, actually, and this series. But there is just something about that universe that really drew me in the first time. And as soon as I started watching this, the first few minutes of Heroes Reborn, I was sucked back in. I was like, I love this place.
It has that familiar sounds, a familiar soundtrack.
And no other show has used kind of that nostalgic. The way they do that music. Yeah.
Well, the original Heroes fell prey to the writer's strike back in 2007 and 8.
Yeah.
So that's what was the downfall of it. So,
well, I would posit that the writers were on strike even before the official strike on that show. The writing was not the strongest part of that show, for sure.
My thoughts on, so when they're starting off this show, there's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And I remember that happening with the first one too. You've got a lot of different things that are going to be interplaying together. And that is a fun thing. It's also fun to figure out what someone's ability is, to kind of see all these really interesting ways that people are expressing themselves, and to think that humanity has somehow evolved and to be able to have these special abilities, and what does that mean for humanity. I think that's where the show is going to try to go, is okay, so these people have evolved, what does that mean? And trying to figure out, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. And that's really what they did in the first one too. Who's the good guy, who's the bad guy? Like the cheerleader's dad, you're really thinking he's a good guy, and then, oh no, he's really creepy bad guy. Oh wait, no, he's good.
Or is he good? Or
you can't
is he
tell.
bad?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back and forth. And you got some just straight up, this guy is bad. He's like Skylar. He's just wackadoo and taking people's powers and stuff. So that's fun because it adds a dimension of the storyline where someone's special ability has a way of impacting other characters beyond just normal conversation and things like that. So I think that stuff is fun for me to watch, but I agree that maybe because we have so many other television options, Netflix options, Hulu options for shows, this one might fall down the line a bit. Although I'm hoping that they can bring it to some kind of a conclusion for this world that puts a bow on the story that the show didn't have the ability to have some justice done to it the first time. So I'll probably watch it off and on. I think I'm enjoying it more than Gotham. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's some things that I'm watching right now just to kind of keep up with that I don't like at all. So I think I'd replace it with one of those for sure.
I think I'm going to keep watching just because I love the world and I am curious about what they're trying to do. I will echo, I think this is really important to echo, this show is confusing as all get out.
Like, it really is.
It is really confusing, and I don't know if it's ever going to make sense.
Yeah,
and if it does, I don't even know if it's going to be worth it. Like, it is hard to follow.
It is hard to follow.
And not just the time thing, but the characters and...
Like, there's one girl who is it's her power that she can go into a video game. Like,
that's where I quit. That's
so
where
confused.
I'm done with this show.
Yeah.
With the video game thing.
Because that took it into a different level of reality that's like, okay, now this is going into, like...
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're already in science fiction.
It was a little ridiculous.
But what is that?
Yeah. And I think they may be going somewhere, but they're getting at it in such a weird way. Like they took time I don't think this is giving anything away because it's the first 10 minutes of the first episode. They take time to introduce us to like 3 characters who are then gone within the first 10 minutes of and it's like, wait, why are you doing so much character setup for red shirts? You know, like it didn't make sense to me.
Red shirts.
And maybe that'll
Star Trek
nice reference there, Aaron.
Thank you. My trekkers like that one.
Side note, there is a website that creates red shirt gnomes.
What?
And has them like displayed in different ways of being phasered, you know, like anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
awesome.
nice.
I'll have to try to find that for you.
All right. Can we do one more thing on Heroes Reborn before we go to our buried treasure?
Okay.
You got one, Andrew?
Things I did like. I forget his last name, but his name's Pruitt.
Pruitt Taylor Vince.
Yes, Pruitt Taylor Vince. I love every single thing he's in. If there was one thing that was going to keep me going about this show, is to see what his character's all about.
Yeah, that's Penny for Your Thoughts guy.
The Penny for Your Thoughts guy.
Thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of those ways in the first show, when they first started Heroes, that they had those characters that had these weird things going on and you just wanted to know what it was about. And the Penny guy is that guy.
Yeah. I loved his character. If there was one thing that was ever going to keep me going about the show, where if I were to talk to somebody and they're like, oh no, Pruitt Taylor Vince character, you got to get back in. He goes, whoa. And you're like, okay, I guess I'm going to get back in now, because that would be the one thing.
I need to research. It has been a long time. I almost think his character was in the final season of the original series.
Oh, really?
I could be completely wrong, but it struck me when I saw him like, oh, he's back. And I don't remember why I think he was in the original series, but
okay.
But anyways, but I loved him as well. That's actually my one more thing is not him, but there are a couple performances that actually did work for me. Mm-hmm. I actually thought the kid worked.
The younger kid that he's following, I did like him a lot.
I liked him a lot.
Job.
I want to know what happens with him. I care about him. I think his development's working well.
Yeah.
I want to know what happens with him. And I am a Zachary Levi apologist. It's interesting. He's the main guy of the husband and wife that are hunting Evos.
I don't like their characters.
I don't like their characters.
I don't like her especially.
Exactly. But like him.
Well, you shouldn't.
No, I mean just
she's straight up murderer.
Yeah, but just like the way she performs that character, I'm not a fan of that.
But with him, like he's already layering some stuff underneath there, and I think it's cool to see him try to step out of the Chuck vibe, and you've seen him do it in other movies as well, where he's kind of that kind of goofier character. Mm-hmm. But it's fun to see him try to embody something a little more serious. And I thought he did a good job.
Don't really have one more thing for this one. I can do a completely random thing.
There you go.
You had a question in the comments about whether or not you're watching Doctor Who.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to talk about that next time, maybe.
Well,
I haven't caught up on the newest season. I think they're on episode 3 or 4.
Episode 3, yeah.
Okay, I have to get caught up on season 10. Is that where we're on it? Or 9?
I think it's 9. Okay. The first episode, I've only seen the first episode of the new season. Loved it. Loved it.
A lot of people don't like Peter Capaldi. I love Peter Capaldi as Doctor Who. I think he does a great job.
Let me just say, never met a doctor I didn't like.
Really?
Never met a doctor I didn't like. I think they all bring something to the role, and I love it. I mean, nobody will ever be David Tennant. He's the man.
That's true.
But
he is the Doctor Who.
He is my doctor. But I've never met a doctor I didn't like.
I haven't watched Doctor Who.
Yes, you have.
You
had a bad Doctor Who experience,
and I decided to flush it from my mind so that I can carry forward with positive experiences, hopefully in the future.
I've actually seen like 3 or 4 episodes where like that's the episode you have to show somebody if you want them to be a Doctor Who fan.
Well, pass it along, my friend.
Well, and I have one. I know the one that locked me and my brother. He
Blink?
Huh? Blink is the one.
Yeah,
that's the one. You show
start
somebody Blink, start on Blink, and then go back and watch them in order.
Blink or Midnight. Those are the two episodes.
Midnight is great. That's the other one.
None.
Midnight's the travel one.
Where they're in the thing and they're stuck.
Midnight.
Yeah, those are the two.
Yeah.
Those are the two I watched before I started watching them in order. Were Blink and Midnight.
Yeah.
I think that's just kind of common.
And the library was really good too.
All right,
fine.
Let's get to our buried treasure.
We're not. I guess we were kind of ranking stuff.
We were,
and we just promised her that we wouldn't.
That's right.
She saw the show, and we still ranked stuff.
Yes, you did. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You guys can't help it. It's just part of the natural extension of who you are.
Well, if we've already got it out there, we might as well do top 5 Doctor Who episodes. Okay, Danae, what's your buried treasure?
I wanted to do an update on Alias, and I'm glad it kind of came up in the chat because there's 2 things that I wanted to update on. One is Alias. I did finish Alias, and I was kind of working my way through that. I finished it like almost a month ago, and of course we went to Florida, and life kind of got crazy, and we forgot to update on that. So I did finish it. Everyone kind of said that I was going to be, or that they were disappointed in the final season.
Brought your expectations down.
I don't know what happened to the writing, but I feel like maybe Jennifer Garner, did she really get pregnant, and it just changed her character change? Something about Jennifer herself, I feel like, I don't know. This is my interpretation. Something changed about her love or involvement of the show. Something shifted because she started to take like a back, like you could kind of see it just, she wasn't as involved in the show. And I think maybe it was because she was really pregnant. I don't know if that's part of why the show kind of fizzled out. They definitely kept trying to add in new things. And I think if they would have let it work a little bit longer and like give it a little bit more time instead of just jumping in and tying things up and then starting another storyline, it kind of would have brought maybe the finale into something more satisfactory, because I wasn't as satisfied as I would have wanted to have been, but I overall really enjoyed the series. So.
I think it's a great show to bring up in this discussion of heroes and other things like this, because it is another example of how hard it is to stick the landing in sci-fi. How hard it is, and I don't know if you even necessarily consider Alias a sci-fi show, but all that Rambaldi stuff, like the mystery stuff, it is hard to stick the landing on that stuff. And you see it in the original Heroes. The writing fell apart and they were trying to do creative and weird things.
Yeah.
You see it in X-Files. You see it in all these shows where they just kind of fall apart as it keeps going, because it's just hard to keep up with that mystery.
X-Files is another show that's coming back.
It is in January.
Yep.
We'll definitely talk about it then.
I did have one more. Do you want me to go now?
Oh, you got a second buried treasure?
Well, I wanted to give an update because last week I did a review on a Daddy Longlegs app.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about how terrible it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you find out it's truly awesome?
No. I'm still terrible at it, but I was showing it to my friend's daughter. I was like, Maria, check out this stupid app. Hand it over to her. She gets totally obsessed with it and is just rocking it out. And she is making this Daddy Longlegs walk like a normal thing. And I'm just like, how are you? So I wanted to say, for the record, in all likeliness, it is just my own inability to
can't
to
go
play
to
this
Everest,
game.
can't go to Mars,
I can't be a
make Daddy Longlegs walk.
No, I can't.
mean, these are just things
This is just my Latin life.
Danae cannot do.
Some people really liked it. She got totally obsessed about it and played it nonstop for like 2 hours.
Andrew, you got some buried treasure for us?
I do indeed. I just finished playing the closed beta for a video game that's coming out this December. It's called Rainbow Six Siege.
All right, how'd you get into a closed beta?
Because I'm the man.
All right.
Yeah.
You are the man, by the way. Will Forte is tweeting you, so...
I'm not going to lie, that's not the first time Will Forte's tweeted me. Anyway, that was really cool, I'm not going to lie. So the closed beta for Rainbow Six Siege, what I played it before. I played the alpha of it back when I went to RTX this year, Rooster Teeth Expo, even though that's not what it's really called. Anywho, it's not the point. The game is fascinating as long as the mountain of bugs that were in the closed beta are fixed. This is going to be one of the most fun you will have with the first-person shooter. Because, with the whole thing, like you hide around a wall so the enemies can't shoot you, everything in the game is destructible. You shoot through a wall, you can kill the person. If a person's above you, you shoot the floor and they'll fall through the floor.
So it's more realistic, as if we lived in a world of drywall.
Exactly. So whenever this comes out, December 3rd or 6th, I can't remember which day it is. If you're a first-person shooter fan, I would wait and make sure all the bugs that were in these betas are fixed, because there were a lot of issues with this beta.
So what does it do that a first-person shooter hasn't done before? Like, we've seen so many FPSs.
You can shoot through the walls, Aaron.
They add a second person.
I think that what separates this from a lot of FPSs that are out there right now are the fact that with the ones out there right now, it's gung-ho, go by yourself and shoot everything up and you'll rock it. This is not. If you do that, you're dead. This is 100% team-based co-op. If you're not communicating with your team, you're not going to make it. And even then, it's incredibly difficult.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. That actually reminded me of a point I wanted to make about The Martian that I did not get to. I can make it very quickly, and so I will. This could have been a found footage movie, and they decided...
Oh, thank God.
But listen, this is what I have been saying over and over again about found footage. You can put found footage in a movie and still make it a great movie. You don't have to rely on the gimmick. And this movie does that. You are watching, quote-unquote, footage from inside the movie through a lot of this movie. Yeah. But you're also watching a real movie.
I'll go on that. The book is found footage. It's all his logs. That's all the book is. It's this log for that day.
Thank you for not making it a gimmicky found footage movie. That meant a lot to me.
Yeah. The book is all found footage. It's all his log, like Sol 158, 6:57 a.m.
Right.
And then that's what the book is.
Yeah.
So
it lended itself to that, and I was really pleased to now I have this as an example of how you do it right. If you want to use it, this is how you do it right.
Go see The Martian.
Yeah, it's really, really good. All right, my buried treasure is based on, we were talking about Heroes Reborn and X-Men and this idea of people having strange powers. Yes. There is an incredible miniseries that came out. I looked it up because I wasn't sure when it came out, and then I lost the tab. So anyways, it's gone now. But it's called The Lost Room. And it is a 6-part miniseries about this room that gives people powers when they take objects from this hotel room. And it is mind-blowing. It is fun. It is funny. It is interesting. And does the people with weird powers thing better than anything I've ever seen.
What network? Do you know?
I do not know. I think it was on... Oh, it was long. I wanted to say again? Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi?
I think it was on Sci-Fi, but it was a while ago. The Lost Room.
Okay.
So if you want to check that out, find a way to find it somewhere. I don't even know where you would find it, but it brought up to me. It stars the guy who was in 6 Feet Under, the TV show 6 Feet Under.
Michael C. Hall?
Nope. Wait,
was
he
that
was also in
Under?
Sports Night. I think he was also in Sports Night. The old Sorkin Sports Center based show. But anyways, he's great. The show's great. I've still got a copy that I can lend you sometime.
Peter Krause?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Peter Krause. So, anyways, that's my buried treasure.
It's on Amazon right now for $2.
There you go.
Hey.
All six episodes?
That's what it's saying right now.
$2, all 6 episodes. I'm telling you, worth digging up. That's my buried treasure for
Fantastic.
today. Well, there you go.
My interest is piqued. I'll probably buy it.
There you go. Was that it?
I think that was it. Oh, we're at the end of our little show. Well, thanks guys so much for joining us for another episode of SiftPop. Please subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast, so that you can listen to the spoilers after you go see the movie The Martian, which we highly recommend. If you've got any comments, anything to add after this, you can always send us your comments and feedback right through our website at aaronanddanae.com. And for those that joined us for the live show today, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, and thank you also to so many who make this show possible. Thanks to Andrew from Flick Freaks. If you want to check him out, make sure you hit up his YouTube at Flick Freaks. Where else can people go to find you?
Twitter.
Everything/fit.
Yeah.
Everything.
Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, all those /Flick Freaks, and Patreon. So I just got my first Patreon supporter the other day.
Yay! Yeah. People love what you do.
His YouTube name is Clem Media, which is one of the funniest YouTube names.
Chlamydia?
Yes.
No, that is not okay.
I just fell for that.
Witty.
I just did that.
Oh, you didn't know when you said it?
I do now.
Yeah.
Well,
I also just launched a new
awkward.
YouTube channel for video games, Let's Plays and stuff like that. Game Geeks.
Oh, I was going to say, is it Sif Phyllis?
Oh my goodness.
Hey, that was another guy's idea. I'm just glad that it's easy to remember. I'll say that.
Hey, we shouldn't talk. The initials for our podcast are STD. So
hey, there you go.
Yeah.
It's not like
we realized that afterwards.
Yes, that was not intentional at all.
Oopsie.
Thanks for checking out this episode of SiftPop. We appreciate you being here, and we will catch you next time. If you want to hear the spoilers, make sure you subscribe. We'll see you then. It's the SiftPop and Spoiler Show! I don't know why. It was my turn to do the theme song, I guess.
I guess so.
So we're heading straight into some spoilers for The Martian, so we can talk a little bit deeper about what happened in the movie, as well as some things that we didn't get to touch on during the podcast proper. So if you have downloaded this one to listen to the spoiler stuff, well, get ready, because you're about to be spoiled.
We're joined today by Andrew from Flick Freaks, which you probably already knew, because you've listened to the show proper.
Andrew, I had your microphone down, so if you want to ahoy people again, you can.
Ahoy!
There you go. Very nicely done.
I see what you're doing. You're just trying to push me out of the show. I get it.
I was trying to fade the theme music from the first podcast, and I hit the wrong channel. And I was like, why is the theme music not getting softer? Because it's Andrew's channel. So let's talk spoilers. We usually start off with kind of a brief walk through the plot, so you know exactly what happens. Danae, walk us through.
Well, this is gonna be a fun one. Andrew, you said in the show proper, which is so true, that this movie is, just to talk about it in detail, is a lot of spoiling. Yeah. So, and towards the very end of the show, we kind of talked about how this is found footage. So we sort of know from that he was discovered alive. And he makes it. Okay, that's the end of it's the end of the spoiler.
Well, you really spoiled that one quick.
Yeah.
This is about several astronauts who are doing some work for NASA on Mars. They're doing exactly what we do when we visit planets, collecting soil samples and all this sort of thing. And they have kind of a pretty big base camp set up, all things considered. A storm hits, and they have to get off of the planet quickly in order to make sure that their space rocket doesn't tip over. And in that process, Matt Damon's character gets hit by some debris and is left behind. They thought that he was dead. He was not dead. He wakes up the next day and makes his way back to base camp. And basically the movie is him surviving, trying to figure out how to not only make his rations work, but how to survive on the planet, including growing food. And the rest of the world, NASA and other organizations, trying to figure out, all right, what are we doing? Are we rescuing this guy? Are we not? Are we going to send him food? Are we going to wait until another ship comes by? And that whole process of how he actually ends up coming to be rescued.
He, spoiler alert, uses his own human waste to make more potatoes. So from henceforth, we shall call them poop-tatoes.
Poop potatoes.
Yes.
So, and he lives on poop potatoes for the entire time he's on the planet.
Yay for the planet of the potatoes.
Poop potatoes
really
and
is.
Vicodin.
That's right.
Yeah.
that was funny. I actually missed that. I missed that he had said Vicodin when he broke that pill or whatever.
Vicodin
I don't know.
Yeah,
it was
Vicodin.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
So, so the movie really is about how he does it. Like all the ingenuitive things that he has to do to, plant the potatoes, to
make water
because he's going to need more water to grow the potatoes, to be able to use the vehicle that they have there to go further distances. Like it's all about problem solving, how to communicate with NASA. That was a big problem he had to solve that he eventually figured out, and that was creative and interesting. And he used like a hexadecimal system because it allowed him to have fewer characters and all that, just really smart stuff. And then the smart stuff that happens from NASA's side, because then once he makes contact, now they've got all their brains on it too. And so it's just...
That was really fascinating to watch.
It's really interesting. And that's another thing that made it feel really real, is there were so many little characters who came in and did their part, and that's real life. You know, in movies, a lot of times they'll boil it down to our 5 heroes and they do everything. But in this, it was somebody would come in and they put their name on the screen and this is who they are and they'd play their part. And then the Chinese would come and they'd offer, a rocket and they do their part, a very powerful part.
Yes.
Very powerful part to see another country, say, here's the secret thing we were doing, but we're going to give it to you because we want you to get your man back.
And that's the thing to remember about the movie. It's not just NASA that's trying to bring him home. The entire world comes together for the aid of one man.
And it really is realizing that he is alive is everyone starting to invest in this guy being out there by himself, and they're all invested emotionally. And towards the end of this film, when he is rescued, there's a part where it kind of shows all these different places from around the world that are all tuning in live to find out if this rescue mission is going to go well. And what was fascinating about that for me, I got chills a couple of times thinking about all of these people stopping their lives and investing. And I'm remembering, there are times that is what happens in history. Mm-hmm. That's not abnormal for humanity to all come together. There's another movie coming out with Antonio Banderas where it's like the mine
workers,
the mine
based
workers.
on a true story one. The 33,
the 42 or something.
The 33, I could be
the 32 maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever it is,
number.
It's that same. It's another survival story, but it's where the whole world was watching, and everybody is hoping and praying that things go well. But it comes down to everyone doing their small part and a bit of God or luck or whatever you want to believe. Because this movie obviously isn't a true story, but the perseverance every single time that there's a problem that happens and just trying to overcome that next obstacle all the way down to the very last second when he's rescued. And that rescue scene was really powerful too.
The 33, you're right, yeah.
The crux of the plot of this movie, for me, revolves around one moment that we haven't talked about yet that I want to talk about, and for a couple of reasons. And that is the decision of his crew to go back and get him instead of trying to send a supply rocket to him. And there's this beautiful build-up to that choice that they are given to make. And during the podcast proper, you had talked about the theme of unity in this movie. And what's interesting is I think that theme still comes through, even though you could look at their choice, which was against orders. They were told not to do that. More specifically, their director was told not to do that, but he, gave them the choice.
I have a question for you about that.
And let's get there. But in their disobedience, there is still something beautiful about the unity they showed in making that decision as a team to go get their guy. And I thought that was absolutely, for me, the most emotional part of the movie when they were making that decision.
The most emotional part for me was Matt Damon's face when he was in the ship about to be launched into space to meet up.
Breaking down.
And I think it just got real for him, and he's just like, this is it. It's now or never. And just that emotion of letting himself get vulnerable for himself. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he had been vulnerable many times before and he was crying and things like that, but he pretty much just kept a day-to-day task. I've got to get up in the morning. I've got to go do this. I've got to, these are the things that have to be done. But now everything's out of his hands. He can do nothing other than sit there and hope that everything goes well.
And half a rocket.
And half of a rocket and let him...
A convertible, as he said.
Yes. Yeah. So I thought that was the most powerful moment.
So what did it bring up for you?
Okay, so here's the question I had for you. So as a lot of people know, NASA belongs in the public domain. Whatever NASA sees, you see. So do you think that if NASA was not in the public domain, do you think Jeff Daniel would have just left him up there?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
I think so.
I think he would have.
I do too.
I think he would have not wanted to deal with the PR of having to...
Well, he was so worried about PR the whole time.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I mean, that was his job. I don't think we were meant to look down on him for that in a lot of ways. I think we were meant to respect that he had to make those decisions.
I grew in respect for his character as the movie developed, and that's why I liked his performance.
In that moment where he's talking to the guy that leaked to the crew the information that they could go get him,
Sean Bean's character.
Yeah, Sean Bean's character. When he says, you realize you may have just killed them all, and something about I expect your resignation when this is over. Like it was, I don't know. There was just something really leader about that and powerful, even though we disagree with him. Everybody in the audience disagrees with him. We all want them to go get him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we respect him.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting,
a really good job of
really
writing
interesting
that way.
character.
My favorite scene with him was when the astrophysicist or the aerodynamic, what was the
Donald Glover's kid?
The guy who's been working all night and he gets up in the cot.
Yeah, Donald Glover. He's a
aerodynamic. I can't remember what his title.
Aerospace engineer? I don't know.
He figures out that the ship that's carrying back the crew, called the Hermes, which is, a long-term space travel ship, if it accelerates instead of slowing down as it approaches Earth, can slingshot around the orbit and basically go back, over the course of 7 months or so to Mars to rendezvous. And that's kind of like, that's where the rescue mission takes place. But there's a scene whenever he walks in to try to explain how this is going to work, and he does it in, very dumbed down visual.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, we're the audience. We needed help with this.
That's who he was doing it for.
Yeah,
he wasn't
doing it for us.
Kristen Wiig or Jeff Daniels.
But what's really funny is that was my favorite part for the director of NASA, was when he stood there and he's like, "Could you just?" I'm sorry, I don't know your name. He's like, "I'm Tommy.
You can call me Teddy.
You can call me Teddy. I'm the director of NASA." But he had this kind of smirk to his like he was both amused and frustrated at the same time.
Yeah.
And then whenever he was done, he's like, "You can go now." It's just it doesn't very cut and dry. Not a lot of buffer around him. He's just say it like it is. I really liked that.
Not a spoiler, but I meant to mention it and I didn't. Michael Pena is one of my favorite actors working right now.
Oh, yeah.
Who is that?
He was so good. The Hispanic guy in the team.
He's the driver of the pilot.
The pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
He's great.
Oh, he's so good.
He has a way of having a smile in his eyes and a little bit on his just like a little smirk. And even when he's serious, you can tell he's enjoying his life.
I would highly recommend seeing him in End of Watch. He's amazing in that. And of course, just recently he was in Ant-Man and did a great job in that too. So
one of his most powerful performances was in Crash. I cried harder in that than I ever have in any other movie. But let's see, what was I gonna say? The biggest spoiler of the movie, and we haven't talked about it yet.
This is a big deal.
Sean Bean doesn't die.
This is what I was saying I couldn't say in the show proper, and then I passed it on a note.
Yes.
Is that Sean Bean actually survives in his role.
Because he dies in all of his other movies.
He makes it. He does get fired, but...
He does get fired, which is close. I thought that, like, a meteor was going to come out of nowhere and just kill him as he was walking to his car in the parking lot. And
just
that's
something
how he
crazy.
Yeah. That's how they
they go to that last scene. They catch Matt Damon in space and they bring him into the cockpit of their Hermes, and they say, "Man, it's so great to have you back. Our director just passed away of a heart attack."
Yeah.
That's the end of the movie.
So you guys know that whole ending thing where he's like teaching and stuff. None of that's in the book. The book cuts off where they catch him.
Thank you. That's exactly where it should have ended. And when I said I didn't like the ending of the movie, that's exactly why.
They cut it off where they catch him. That's where the book ends.
When they cut to the next scene, I was like, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
That was
I totally agree with you.
I was, as we were going through that scene, going through the rescue scene, I was like, this is going to be a great ending. It's just that catch. It's pulling him back in. It's him walking into the crew. And
there's something beautifully metaphoric about the way the lines are, tangling them up.
It was such a beautiful scene. And when they downshifted into, however far into the future, I know what they were doing was the re-excitement for the space program. And I think that they were trying to send a message to this generation that the excitement for the space program exists because the youth get excited about it, and you see the campus is filled with activity and people running around, and he has a full classroom. They're all young students. It's something about just passing on that knowledge, and I appreciated that, but it didn't need it. It's kind of like whenever you're already full and you've had a really great dessert and you had that great last bite and you go back for like one more taste and you get something like burnt and you're like, oh, that just ruined everything.
Yes.
I should have stopped.
Yeah.
That's what that movie felt like. But I still enjoyed it.
There are many movies that do that to me.
Yeah. I still enjoyed it, but I was very disappointed with the ending. I also felt like they really missed an opportunity for Matt Damon's character to specifically talk about, because he's like, yeah, I'm the guy that survived on Mars. And I'm thinking, the entire movie, you had so many people saving your life, jumping in. They should be somebody that you're talking to and talking about right now in front of these kids. You're
right, but that kind of was his character. Even like at the end, he wanted to pull the Iron Man. You know, like he wanted it to be about him. Like,
yeah, but I don't think that was real. I think that was just his deflective humor because everything was like his life was falling apart. Yeah, he did. He did end up doing it.
But through the whole movie, they're playing up that element of him. Like even when they're saying, you know, well, they told me I'd be the fastest man in space flight, and they think that's going to be. Actually, that is really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. So I have a question for you guys. So, like I've said 1,000 times, read the book. I was surprised how emotional and teary-eyed I got whenever it was leading up to him finally getting off Mars. I want to know how it affected you guys going into this with a blind eye. Like, did you think he was going to survive?
I didn't know. But I did. Once they started showing the picture, the images of the entire world tuning in, and it's one way or the other, right? Like he's going to die in front of everybody or he's going to make it. And I'm like, there's no way that he's going to die in front of all of these people. And so I was like, he's going to make it. He's going to make it.
I had one moment. There was one moment when the launch was happening where my brain went, what if it's a different movie than I think it is? What if this is a movie about how it was still worth it even though he didn't make it?
I thought that whenever the launch happened, I was so worried.
Yeah, that was my one thought was, what if this is, you know, we do it again even though, you know, we didn't catch him or he blew up on, you know,
right,
you know, leaving or whatever. And it was out of my mind quickly. I knew he was going to get so. Like, I mean, there's just it's hard to make that movie.
I was bothered as meticulous as he was to take care of everything. I was bothered by the launch scene because he kept debris underneath the rocket,
screws
and I'm just like,
I thought that too.
Why would you risk that a debris flies back up and changes the trajectory of your launch or explodes underneath you? Like, why would you leave debris underneath, like right in your launch area? Like, why not clean that out? So for the whole entire movie, that's just like the one thing that I felt.
I
think
maybe he didn't have the energy. You saw how skinny he was because he was eating once every 3 days.
Yeah. I think the other thing I wondered if it might be this kind of movie was that somebody ended up trading their life for his. You know, like one of the crew.
I wondered that too.
Like Jessica Chastain was going to sacrifice herself.
The guy that
I quickly dismissed that because that's a hard movie to take because then it's like, you know.
Well, but the guy was like going outside of the ship. And they had this like ominous music playing.
Sure,
I was like, this guy is about to just like get it. Like, but nobody, you know, they all make it, which is fantastic.
Why he walked around the outside of the ship, why he couldn't go back inside where it's safer.
Well, this is that character. I don't know what the book is like, but I tell you what, very specifically, that movie is playing with our expectations deeply. Not only is he outside and ominous, and it's like, what's going to happen to him? They develop a very quick relationship that he has inside the ship. There's a goodbye moment even that the movie gives us.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jessica Chastain's character says, I've got this while he's standing right there. All those things are typical in a movie where that person makes a choice to sacrifice their life.
I was refreshed by this movie on almost all the way through. The humor, the pacing. There was one other thing I did not like about the movie, and that was the music. I felt like it was a little bit of a knockoff of Guardians of the Galaxy with the tape,
the disc.
Well, all the music that they play.
Interesting.
And it was so fun and such a fun mixtape, such a fun thing to listen to for Guardians of the Galaxy. And I feel like on this one, it was trying to get there, but I didn't like the songs that they picked. That was
kind of the point, right?
I know, but I also wasn't enjoying it. It would have been better if I was enjoying it and he wasn't. You know, like
it was my least favorite part of the movie. Was the line that everybody knew was coming, which is "You have terrible taste in music." You know, like the first thing.
Yeah, it had been said multiple times.
And
already.
it was just like that running gag didn't quite work for me, but that's a minor thing.
Yeah, it was. That's right. All the things just seem a little bit minor. If I have, like I said, one major complaint, it's just that they should have ended at the Raskin.
You know, interesting. I'll go ahead and mention it because I haven't said it. That didn't bother me at all. I didn't like it. Didn't impact me at all. Thinking back on it, I can see what you're saying. But in watching it, I was like, oh, it's a coda. It's what movies do sometimes. But it didn't bother me. And I liked the way they played it into the credits to put people's names with their faces. I love
that
when
that
a movie can
fantastic.
do that. Because I'm the kind of person who, you know, wants to know who these actors are and to remember that kind of thing. So I like that they gave him.
They gave him a good visual representation. Like people that don't maybe normally get a screenshot next to their name. I think they did do a good job of that.
Another thing I really liked is you can have A-list actors on set and on screen with people you've never heard of, and they get equal camera time. You can have Chiwetel Ejiofor, Oscar-nominated actor, with an actress I've never even heard of before, and they're on this...
Benedict Wong.
I'm the blonde girl.
Okay.
With the glasses that was the satellite
person.
Yes. I don't remember her name. I just remember Benedict Wong.
I enjoyed that too, that there's people I didn't recognize, and they were just part of the story. I really enjoyed this one. This was a really, really good one.
Yeah, great stuff. Any final thoughts?
Go and see it. You will not disappoint.
Spoiler
not a true
alert.
Story.
Spoiler alert. You'll like it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No helicopters.
Yeah, there's no helicopter rescue in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I need some mashed poop potatoes. With some butter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. French fried poop potatoes.
I told the Planet of the Potatoes group on Band, like every spud must see this movie because pretty much potatoes save the world.
That's right, they do.
Potatoes saved this person.
That's right.
And
the hab blowing up.
Help with the unity of everything. You know, like everybody gets to come together, and it's all because of potatoes.
The hab.
The hab blowing up?
The hab. That's what I was trying to think of at the beginning. The hab for habitat.
Okay.
Hab, yes.
Okay.
I was saying this is our hab. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, the hab.
And we've come full circle.
Yay!
It only took us an hour and a half to get there, but we're there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You can check out, of course, everything at aaronanddanae.com if you want to hear all the podcasts and everything else we do.
And thanks for telling your friends about SiftPop. We love what we do, and we're so thankful for your support. If one of your friends doesn't know how to podcast, well, that's okay. Tell him to go to Aaron Dicer's YouTube page because he actually posts these there too.
That's correct. Yeah, you can listen to these on YouTube. So
we'll see you next Friday for another episode of SiftPop. I think we're going to be reviewing. Is it Pan?
Yes, we're going to be talking Pan next week.
Pan will be next week.
Depending on it always depends on what movies are showing when. But
hear your thoughts on that movie.
We never know 100% how things are going to go, but our plan is to see Pan.
That's right.
And if you want to come watch the movie with us and you're in the Springfield, Missouri area, we go to see him on Thursday nights. You're welcome to come out.
Oh, that'd be a blast. We'd love that. And thanks again to Andrew. Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
I have so much fun. More fun every single time I come here.
Yay!
So. More fun's good.
More fun is good. It would have been really awkward if you would have been like, yeah. This
every time it gets
worse.
A little more boring.
I just use you guys for movie tickets now. That's
really pretty much feel like I hate you now. So bye.